Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me. Run through the land, you run through my soul. Bring me wisdom and peace. Run through all ages.
Welcome to be my guest today. We have Marjorie Turner Hollman. She is many things. She is an author who has written Easy Walks. Those are local trails in this area. You'd be surprised how many there are. She is a TV host in Bellingham, and she is a personal historian for veterans as well as for their families. Welcome, Marjorie. That's a lot. First of all, let's just get right to Easy Walks in Massachusetts. What made you want to do this?
I've been walking trails for years and years. I've been in this area over 30 years. Okay. And in my work as a writer for the Bellingham Bulletin, I proposed a series of articles on outdoor trails. My editor said, "Are there enough trails in this area?" And I said, "I think so." And a year later, doing one article each month, I had 10 or 11 articles, and I didn't have any place that they were locally available. There wasn't any place that I could make them continually available. So with my work as a personal historian, I have a website, www.marjorieturner.com, and so I just stuck them up on my website under area walking trails, and every single day I get hits on my website with people looking for walking trails. And I finally said, hello, there's a market here. I looked around, there just wasn't anything for our immediate area, south central Massachusetts. And so I started doing more exploring, checking different towns, and made it a very, very intensely local book. I wanted to be someplace that you can go right around the corner from where you live.
Well, I know that Milbury has that bike trail. Is it walking bike trail through there?
Are you talking about part of the Blackstone River Bikeway?
Up near the mall.
There's about a 1 mile section that's not connected to anything. I've ridden on it.
And that is a Cape Cod Rail Trail. I know. I've used to go
there's
on that.
lots and lots of rail trails.
I used to bike on that.
Yeah.
But this is filled with so much. I was amazed. We were just talking. There's a lot in Franklin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Bellingham.
Yep. Franklin has done a lot with their signage, which makes it nice to be able to find it. They've made some really nice parking places, and they've just expanded some more trails just recently.
Marjorie's book is very easy to read. It also clues you in. You have, what do you call them, the symbols?
Little icons.
The icons. It'll tell you if it's good for a car.
Well, if there's any parking.
Bathrooms are important.
Very few bathrooms, but there are a few.
There's always the woods.
That's right.
I'm not shy. Then they have the dog. If it has a slash through it, no dog.
That's right.
Okay, I don't quite get this. What is it? A biker with looks like a bat over his head. What is that?
That's going to be a mountain bike. That's for mountain bikes. So it's not a paved rail trail.
Right.
So you're going to need more fat tires to be able to go on places, a lot of trails, things like Hopedale Parklands.
Okay.
You probably don't want to take a street bike on those carriage paths, but a mountain bike would do absolutely wonderful on the carriage paths.
A horse? You can take a horse?
Lots of these trails, I see signs of horses, so I know people are already riding horses there. That's right.
Don't skid. And then swimming, canoeing, fishing.
Yep, that's less, but there are places, and so where there are opportunities and places to put your kayak or canoe in, I tried to let people know so that they would know that that was available as well.
Riverbend Farm, I know that well.
Yeah.
There's a nice trail out
Uxbridge is absolutely fabulous. The Blackstone River Heritage Corridor has been such a blessing to this area, and it's really brought a tremendous amount of investment into this area. Yeah.
I think I fished there.
Mm-hmm.
I've fished a lot of places.
There's a trail right there that goes right along the Blackstone River all the way up to Lookout Rock on Quaker Street.
Idlewild, never heard of that, Medway.
It used to be the old strawberry farm.
Oh.
It was I don't know when it stopped being a farm, but I picked strawberries there when my children were quite young.
You did.
And now it's all athletic fields. I believe it's soccer fields. But then on the edge of those fields, there are trails, one of which takes you right to Chicken Brook,
Yeah.
which feeds into Choate Park.
Mhm.
And then other trails go along the far right side of the field, and eventually ends up crossing private property over to Botania.
See, I didn't
With-
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
There's a whole network of trails back there.
Hopedale. Let me read. I'll read all these. Bellingham, Blackstone, Franklin, Hopedale, Medway, Milford, Millis, Uxbridge, Wrentham, and Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Now, these are all this easy walks in Massachusetts.
30 trails
30.
in 10 towns.
That's a lot. And Upton wants to come on board,
They
too.
do. They would like to, and I would love to include
Oh, I
them.
think it'd be great.
So,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very definitely. People who are not from this town, out of state, whatever, out of town, if people would like to have you do something like this, can you be reached?
sure.
Make a trail?
Sure,
How would
my,
they
my website is the best way to
Say
get
that
me,
again.
www.marjorieturner.com,
Okay.
Marjorie.
Because I'm sure there are people watching all over the lot. See something like Easy Walks in Massachusetts. Now, they may be in Connecticut. They could be in New York.
It's worth the trip.
It's worth the trip. And then they can get in touch with you and say, we're interested in, could you do it for us? And you could do it.
Do what
Could you
meaning?
put together a book for them?
Oh,
Or help them do it, maybe?
I could certainly advise them that, you really need to. I walked every single one of these trails, and I took pictures
Yeah.
of every single one of them. It's a fairly intensive process because I wanted to make sure of trail conditions. I wanted to make sure of distance
Yeah.
of the trails. I wanted to give people an idea, age appropriate. Was this something that you could bring a baby stroller along, or was it too rough for things like that? So give people an idea of those sorts of things. I wanted to see if there really were bathrooms or
Yeah.
not. Like I said,
Mortifying.
usually not. I
Yeah.
wanted to see where the boat put-ins were for boat launches.
Right.
And I also just enjoyed doing it, and I anticipated being able to do some publicity for the book, and I wanted pictures to show people what a gorgeous area we live.
Did you take the pictures too?
Yes.
So you did it all.
Yeah, I took pictures on every trail.
And you edited your own book?
I self-published this book, yes. I did the formatting,
There's
for
something,
better or worse.
there's something else that Marjorie does, and I want to share with all of you. Something that absolutely fascinates me. You are a personal historian for families and veterans. The first one, for example, is for her father. It's called From Minnesota to Florida, Finding a Place in the Sun, The Cool Family Stories. That was your maiden name, Cole?
That's right, cool.
And it's
Yeah.
all about your dad, and there's your mom and dad on the cover with
That's
their
right.
wedding picture.
That was the picture my dad wanted to put on the cover.
And so he had some input. So what would he
Oh,
would dictate
absolutely.
to you?
No. What I did was just ask him, sit down and have him tell me stories.
Yeah.
And then I started with when he was quite young, of course, and got an understanding, just little vignettes, little stories, and I put it into his voice. So it's all in first person. And I transformed his words into a readable narrative. My
Yeah.
dad was not the most articulate person. As my sister said, it sounds like Dad, but we know he didn't speak this clearly.
Yeah.
So I made it readable for the readers, but I preserved his voice so it still sounds like
I'm looking
him.
at your mom headdress for her wedding.
Yeah.
And what year did they get married?
1949.
Okay, mine were married in 1941. Dave was born in 42. It looks very much the same within that. Yeah.
Very recent not long after the war.
Yeah, very much. She couldn't afford a wedding gown, so a friend lent her this gorgeous. She's standing on the stairs of this thing that flowed. Oh, it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's interesting looking at the styles back then.
There's a whole bunch of pictures at the back as well. So I was able
look at
to
this.
scan.
There's your mom. I think.
Yep.
Yeah, that was her. She had 4 bridesmaids. Looks like 4.
Oh, probably. It
And
was
so
a big
Dad
wedding.
read this before he passed away.
He did. Family recipes. I found their courtship letters and transcribed their courtship letters with his permission.
So this will go down in your family. This one.
Every family member has their own copy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Now, this one right here is, you did this for...
This is for my friend Mary Potter, and I spent a summer interviewing her.
Splitting
She's a
Seas.
wonderful artist,
Yep.
and she did all of those pen and ink drawings. She had poems that went with the drawings, and then 25 years later, I interviewed her about them. She drew all of those and composed the poems in a process of surviving anorexia.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable story.
Splitting Seas.
And
What
20
did that mean to her?
Well, that's the picture on the front. That's the life comes from death.
She was close to death.
She was very close to death, and she lived and survived and thrived and is a grandmother.
And that's her right there.
That is, yeah, on the
You
back
never
cover.
know she'd had a problem.
Yeah. And so it was giving her a chance to reflect on that and be able to give a narrative, not just the poetry, because poetry is one voice, but a narrative gives you a story. And it was actually gave a sort of a three-dimensional take on her story.
My children were quite small when I wrote most of these poems. When I went to Westwood Lodge, that's still very much for, to be hospitalized. Westwood Lodge, that's...
It was a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And she spoke very honestly, and
Yeah.
it was a real privilege to, again, I recorded her stories, transcribed all of those recordings, then took those transcriptions and made them into a first-person narrative with her approval.
And you did the self-publishing for her.
I did.
Now, if people
did.
want to come to you, Marjorie, and they say, gee, I'd like to dictate my story to you, how do you get the word out, first of all?
By doing things like this.
Okay, yeah, but that can...
I'm a member of the Association of Personal Historians, which is an international organization that have members all over the world.
Where do they meet locally here?
Oh, locally, I am the chapter coordinator for southern New England, and we actually meet in Franklin.
Well, that's not bad. That's
Right,
not
that's
close.
because I pick the venue.
Yeah, and so all these people who love to do this, right? Do you ever feel in competition, or is it very equal?
No, people still don't know what personal historians are. It's an education. We're still educating people. They understand family history, meaning genealogy, but this is the story talking to the living people. We're not looking necessarily at the people who have already died and the research. We're getting the stories of your life, you who can still tell, sometimes knowing people 2 generations back. Your memory is still, can go quite a ways back, depending on how old you are. You know quite a bit. I have memories of my grandmother who was born in 1900.
Yeah, my great-grandmother in 18 gosh knows whatever.
Yes, and so those stories, unless you get them down, and then when I'm gone, if I don't write those stories down, they're gone. And so there are many different ways of doing this. There's a website that I work with called Legacy Stories, legacystories.org, and that's something that you can upload. You can scan pictures, and then you can record audio about these pictures, 2 to 3 minute audio. It's a free website for people to sign up for an account, and there's a lot you can do with that. So my wish is more people save their stories. To do a book like this is actually fairly costly, and it's very intensive, and there are many ways to do them. It all depends on how much and how you want to get them done.
Do you go to their home and they tell you?
Typically that would
and
be...
you take notes?
I actually have a tape recorder, and I record them and then transcribe the conversations.
I once asked in a senior center, I said, I would think there would be a lot of people who would be interested. She says, we find it's their kids.
Yes.
So how do you connect with their kids?
That's the challenge. I do workshops, I write articles, I get out and talk to people, I network with business groups. Everybody has a family, but not everybody is interested. A lot of times it's the oldest daughter who is most loyal or most...
I'm the only daughter. The youngest of 2 only children. He's a lot older.
Yes.
Yeah.
So oldest daughter or youngest son. is
Isn't that
typically...
interesting? So where do I fit into this?
You sound like you'd be pretty interested.
I'm the mutt. So are you the oldest in your family?
I'm actually in the middle.
How many kids were you?
There are 5 of us.
Oh, my Lord.
There are 5 of us.
Girls, boys?
Both. 3 girls, 2 boys.
Where did you grow up, Marjorie?
I grew up where my father ended up in South Florida.
South Florida?
That's right.
What brought you up here?
Snow.
You wanted the snow?
I did. I had never seen snow at all. And I was so... You don't understand if you've never seen it. It's just this magical things that I would read about in books. And I said, I am going to college and I'm going to see snow.
Where'd you go?
I went up to Gordon College on
Vermont?
the North Shore. Nope, it's on the North Shore in Wrentham, Massachusetts. And then I married and transferred to Bridgewater State.
Oh, I lived right across from you. What years were you there, Bridgewater?
I was there in the mid-'70s.
Oh my gosh, I lived there with my parents in the late 70s, early 80s.
I was there
Just
sooner.
missed you.
Yep.
Oh my.
So I have a degree from history from
Yes.
Bridgewater State.
And we talked about this beforehand. What got you interested in history?
I've always liked the stories. I think my mother was always very, we would go to North Florida to visit her family every summer. We lived in South Florida. We would drive 13 hours to her family, and where she lived in Pensacola, I was related to probably half of the town. It felt like it. And the rest knew us. And so I went from knowing nobody in our area to belonging to everybody. And so on our way home, she would tell me stories of all the people that we met and all the family stories.
So you grew up a lot like I did. I would hear all kinds of things from the past. I've got albums full of pictures of, I wasn't even around.
And what do you do with all those pictures?
They are saved. Mom, for each child, well, there's only 2 of us, I have my own album. He has his. It's pretty interesting, but that I save, I just visited, I don't know if I've ever been to my great-grandmother's grave. I found it in Worcester. Went to my grandparents' grave in Arlington. I don't think I've been there in years. And I have one more grandmother to find out in Abington. But and my parents are in Foxborough. I go every year.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to instill in my son. I don't know if it's going in here and out here, but that's how I was raised. Like the Memorial Day, my parents would. I grew out of going with them. We even went up to Nova Scotia to the family. But
I come from a long line of pack rats, and we have over 1,000 letters that my great-great-grandmother wrote to her son when she was a traveling actress in the 1870s to the 1890s.
Wow.
And I visited New York City, where her apartment was in the Lower East Side.
Wow.
So I've visited that street. The apartment is not there anymore.
Marjorie, if somebody is interested in having using your skills as a personal historian, they're thinking, first of all, you don't have to give us the exact amount, but is it, you said costly?
It can be, I have colleagues that produce books that are $50,000. That's not probably what I'm not, it really depends on, there are video personal histories. They can be very costly. And you could also go to Legacy Stories and do it yourself. You could do any of this yourself.
I have someone interested. What's it called again? Legacy Stories?
LegacyStories.com.
Okay, and it just would help her look
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's very low cost ways, there are very high cost ways, and everything in between. Every project is different. It really depends on what people want.
And it must be wonderful to deal with somebody who's going back in time, and they don't mind being taped. They don't mind the tape recorder.
I have not had any problem with that, and if people ask if there's something that's very sensitive that they don't, we turn it off.
Exactly. That sounds like a lot of fun. The thing is to get the word out.
Yep.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
good for you're here. I'm glad. You can come back, aren't you?
Sure. So my Trails book is just, it was a need. There was a local need, and so it was something that I could do. And
where do you find the time?
Well, I work from home. I'm self-employed, so I make the time.
What do you do?
I'm a writer.
So it's working out for you.
That's what I'm doing.
So many
I have a
authors want to do that.
I have a wonderful husband who supports me and makes sure the bills get paid, which makes it a whole lot easier not to have the pressure
Yes.
of having to pay all the bills.
A lot of the authors I meet, they're brand new. I meet them. Maybe I introduce them on the show, and I meet them, and they're like, I have one who cannot wait to leave her job.
Oh.
And she's gonna burn out. She's going, oh, I gotta be here. You gotta schedule me here. You gotta
Yeah.
hold it. Most
Yeah.
people don't even have the success as soon as you have had it.
Mhm.
Rest. Let me help you. Just take care of yourself. I'll let you know. She wants out of that job, and now, and it's like, you can only push it so.
I worked some different office jobs, and I was not able to do the writing at the same time.
It's
and
tough.
so with the downturn of the economy, 2009, where I was working, they needed to make some cutbacks, and I said, oh good, now I can go back to concentrating on writing, because I had been writing for the Bulletin over 17 years, and so I just stepped right back in there. That gets me out in the community.
Yeah.
That gets me knowing what's going on.
Somebody from another town watching, or it doesn't matter, you would help them. How far would you travel, Marjorie?
I typically will travel about an hour from home, from Bellingham.
And let me see, what was your website again?
www.marjorieturner.com.
See, I've been connecting with her on email.
Right.
So I don't. www.marjorieturner.com.
.com.
And that's it?
Yep. Pretty simple.
Sounds really good. Now, do you have any of your children into writing?
I have written about them, but they're grown now, and my grandchildren. I will write little things now with little vignettes that little adventures with my grandchildren.
You write for the kids?
Mostly pictures that I'm sharing on Facebook, and then I do have a Facebook page, Easy Walks in Massachusetts, and I would invite anybody to like that. And so anywhere that I'm traveling, that I post pictures of trails on the way I'm traveling.
So now, how are you getting so that you're getting some signings and showing up at places?
Right now, libraries are very, very
Right.
welcoming, and there are several libraries where the books are on sale. Medway Library, the Bellingham Library.
Will you be going to the huge July 30th event up in Danvers, the Authors Fair?
I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
Yeah?
Oh, this will be my first time myself being there, but my authors have gone, and I'll be seeing a lot of people I know. But to me, it's like heaven on earth to walk through and go, oh my God. Everything from sci-fi to mystery. You would be unique. I don't think I have ever interviewed anybody who has done this. This is This is
Oh,
really
thank you.
different, and you'd be in Massachusetts. I bet you'd love it.
Well, then I'll need some details from
All right,
you.
I will send them.
All right, thank
About
you.
July 30th, Danvers, I will be there. It's held at the Danvers, I believe, the Country Club.
Mhm.
Either it's free for you or very little set up.
Mhm.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I'll better be there.
Okay.
Definitely. I
All right.
could get this out there. What other shows are you appearing on?
I have been interviewed with Bellingham Cable. Linda Trudeau has a show called Something Special.
Yeah.
And she did a nice, about an hour interview with me. It was really quite nice.
That's great.
I interviewed with Strictly Business. I had been the host, and I passed that off to the new host, who turned around and interviewed me as her first guest, which
That's
was really
awesome.
nice.
Don't forget, you can use your DVD. You can bring it right over there.
Oh, thank
Any
you.
place you want, put it
Mhm.
online, your website, everywhere. So you're going to
Okay.
be all over the lot. And then, of course, you'll be, around here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
It's
that's
good to have you.
really...
You look just like your picture.
Well,
Some people I'm like,
amazing.
yeah, you look like a kid. She looks about 29, maybe. You look like she's a kid. When you told me your grandmother, I'm like, what?
I am.
Oh, how many grands?
4.
I only got the 2, but they're just little teeny tinies.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. It's like, I feel like I'm starting again, which,
It's fun.
I see the boy, and I'm like, my gosh, it's my son.
I
It's just
know.
like him.
It is.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree. Thank you, Marjorie, so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll have you back on. Are you going to be doing some more books, right?
I expect I'll need to do another revision, but at this point I'm saying another year or two, just to give myself some
Get
time.
Upton in there.
Absolutely. Yep,
I can help you out too. I know some of the people in Upton too. I'd love to help you.
that would be great.
I can steer you.
Because I don't walk alone.
Yes,
So
I'll
I'm
steer
always
you.
looking for walking partners.
Thank you, Marjorie Turner Hollman, and we'll see you next time on Be My Guest.
Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.